Top or flop, these 10 sports cars you need to know in 2025 if you do not want to accidentally end up in the next depreciation fiasco. In this video, we'll show you our top and flop models from the current luxury and sports car market, including Porsche, Ferrari, Mercedes-AMG, and Bentley. We analyze which models have lost massive value and which ones now have real comeback potential. For years, we've been trading in exclusive vehicles and have handled over 30 million euros in volume. Our assessments come from real-world experience, not from textbooks. This time, we're not just looking at demand and value development, but also taking market supply and price levels into account. If a model has dropped in value, right now could be the perfect entry point. Stay tuned until the end because, in my opinion, our number one pick has massive investment potential in the coming years. Let's get started with the most exciting developments in the sports car market. A quick word about our rating system. This is how we evaluate each sports car in this video. We look at 4 clear criteria that are crucial for value retention and investment. Demand. How strong is the current market demand for the model? 10 points means extremely popular. 1 point, clearly a shelf warmer. Market supply. How many are currently available on the market? 10 points. Rare and scarce. 1 point means they're everywhere, bad for investment. Price level. How affordable is the model compared to its history? 10 points means currently very affordable, meaning it used to be much more expensive, a great entry point. 1 point means still too expensive. Each vehicle can score up to 40 points and we give our clear recommendation, hands off or buy now. So we'll start with the first supercar, a car that has suffered a lot, the Ferrari SF90. Demand is currently low, but compared to last year when the cars were unsellable, it has picked up slightly. 5 out of 10 points. Almost 300 vehicles are currently on the market, which is putting massive pressure on prices. Here, it's clearly at the bottom of our ranking, 1 out of 10 points. Many models are up to 200,000 euros below the list price. Here, a clear buying recommendation. These cars are unlikely to get any cheaper in our view. The potential is rather limited. We don't see a sustainable recovery, but more of a sideways trend. Therefore, the recommendation is, if you find a good example, you can go for it, but be very selective. And if you want to buy or sell a sports car, classic or luxury vehicle, then be sure to visit www.rulermobility.de. And now comes a model that looks great on paper, but disappoints in reality. The Ferrari Roma Spider. Demand for the Roma is moderately solid, but it's not strong. 5 out of 10 points. The same applies to the market supply. At the moment, and even though the cars are still relatively new, there are already 80 cars on the market. That's too many for a real hype. 6 out of 10 points. When it comes to price, used ones are listed up to 40,000 euros below the sticker price. That's why it's 6 out of 10 points here. But just like with the Roma Coupé, we expect prices to drop even further. That's why it's 3 out of 10 points. It's still not the perfect entry point. You can keep an eye on things now, maybe buy a bit cheaper already, but prices will continue to drop. If you don't want to miss out on market analyses, price trends, and real dealer insights, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Here you'll get real market content from the sports car trade every week. Now it gets iconic with a modern classic that is far from being written off. The Mercedes SLS Coupé. The modern classic par excellence, the SLS. Demand is stable and coupés are selling especially well. 7 out of 10 points. With more than 80 vehicles, the supply isn't scarce, but it's okay. Prices are stagnating, but that can also be an opportunity. 5 out of 10 points. Above all, we see a lot of potential in the final edition or the Black Series. Here it's 7 out of 10 points. At the moment we say, better to keep an eye on things, specifically look for special models in terms of color and features, then you can strike now. So let's move on to the next flop vehicle, a Porsche that claims to be special, but unfortunately isn't. The 992 Turbo S 50 years. A special edition, but unfortunately only on paper. We actually had one here and with a bit of luck managed to sell it above list price at the very start of the hype. I think it was about 20,000 euros over, but at the moment demand has really noticeably dropped. The hype is over, demand has flattened, only 15 points for demand now. It's a similar picture in the market. Let's take a look at mobile. There are over 30 vehicles listed, way too many. For a true collector's item, especially since the car is still new to the market. That's just not possible. Although the price is still a bit above list at the moment, the actual transaction prices are already below the list price, and this trend will undoubtedly continue. Stickers and tartan fabric alone don't make a milestone. On top of that, the Turbo 50 years just isn't consistent enough as a special edition. All in all, we say, hands off, this definitely won't become a classic in the medium term. It's clear, if you have one, sell it now. It's not going to get any better. Now we're moving on to big engines with 12 cylinders and real arguments. We're moving on to the next top vehicle, the Ferrari 812 Superfast. V12 engine, naturally aspirated, Ferrari, what more could you want? Demand is solid and for top spec models even very high, especially for cars with lots of carbon fiber. 6 out of 10 points. At the moment there are 45 vehicles on the market. That's okay, it's not overcrowded, but not scarce either, just average. Top examples currently start at 300,000 euros, which is significantly below previous prices. Last year, these cars still cost between 350,000 and 400,000 euros, so this is an absolute opportunity to get in. With the new 12-cylinder successor, we might have even reached the bottom now, since that one costs at least 500,000 euros new. And that should also give the 812 Superfast a bit of a boost again. Our recommendation at the moment is it's definitely worth buying. We're probably at the absolute lowest point, so go for it if you find the right car. By the way, we also have a really beautiful one here in a special color. Feel free to check it out on our website. But right after that comes the next flop vehicle, a Porsche with a massive hype loss. And which car are we talking about? Yes, the Cayman GT4 RS. The hype is over, demand is extremely low. I'll go so far as to say the market is basically dead. 3 out of 10 points and the market supply looks similar. 150 vehicles on the market. That's simply way too many in this segment. The cars are being offered up to 20,000 euros below list price. Still, it's not a guaranteed seller. Demand remains subdued. Despite everything, despite the heavy depreciation, we expect a further decline because the supply is simply too large. Definitely not an investment. My advice is really to keep your hands off or only buy if you can get it very cheap, but under no circumstances should you order a new one, because on the secondary market you'll find every car in any imaginable combination, so you're sure to find the right one. Now we're diving deep into the collector scene with an air-cooled car that breaks all the rules, the Porsche 993 Turbo. Yes, demand for good vehicles is really very strong. With us, the good examples are gone immediately. They go online and they're sold. And it's a similar story on the market. There are only 15 vehicles available, but many of them really aren't in good condition. And prices have already risen in recent years, but they're not overpriced yet. That's why we can also say here, you can still get in. The potential is still there as well. Especially in good colors, with good specifications. If you buy a WLS 1 or 2, our clear recommendation is buy. And the price trend will continue. Now, a word of caution, there's a Ferrari coming up that's going to drop further than many might currently believe. The Ferrari 296 GTS. The little brother of the SF90, but even more disappointing. Yes, at the moment, demand is weak. We can only give it 4 out of 10 points. The supply on the market is high and clearly rising. Here too, only 4 out of 10 points. Realistic selling prices are 10 to 15% below list for vehicles in like new condition. Brand new ones I see at about 5%. And we expect a loss in value of 50 to 100,000 euros in the medium term, so it's a clear no-go here. You definitely shouldn't get in right now, not even as part of a package deal with a Puro Sangue, because that one is also dropping at the moment. So, and before we get to our number one investment, let's talk about the car with the biggest flop at the end. And it's a debacle with a warning, the Bentley Continental GT Hybrid. Powerful engine, weak market, demand is practically non-existent. Even we really fell for the whole thing. We have one ourselves, but right now it's definitely very, very difficult. And there are already over 50 vehicles listed on the market, even though it's brand new. The market supply is completely overblown. That's going to be really tough for us, of course. The hybrid was simply priced too high from the start. Up to 375,000 euros. That's exactly how much these cars truly cost, and that's almost precisely 50,000 euros more than a Continental typically cost in the year 2023. That just makes the acquisition of this car extremely difficult at the present moment, and it's also true that hybrid vehicles aren't very popular with consumers anyway. We fully expect a medium-term financial loss of up to 100,000 euros per individual vehicle, so it's abundantly clear, hands off this particular model. The car is neither emotionally appealing nor economically sound. And now we finally come to our number one entry in our comprehensive ranking, the magnificent Porsche 997.2 GT3. The 997.2 GT3, a true driver's car, and demand is extremely high, especially for cars with bucket seats and the Club Sport package without over revs. They hit the market and are sold immediately. 9 out of 10 points, and the market looks similar. There are currently only 10 cars being offered. Half of them are really not good. 10 out of 10 points. The price is high, but demand remains largely stable despite the high prices, and we still see real potential for further growth. That's why it's absolutely clear. The 997.2 GT3 is a top buy. Apart from the limited special models, this is currently the car, period. It captures the spirit of the times, appeals to a younger clientele, and still embodies what lies at the core of the Porsche DNA. Pure driving experience, great sound, manual transmission. Top performance, it doesn't get any better than this, so it's absolutely clear. The new 997.2 GT3 is the top buy in our comparison. What do you think? Which of these 10 sports cars would be a clear buy for you, and which one would you say is a definite no-go? Be sure to write it in the comments. We read everything and are happy to discuss it with you. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like. It shows us that these kinds of analyses really provide value for you. And if you don't want to miss any future market analyses, value races, or real insights from the sports car trade, subscribe to the channel and click the bell. We regularly bring you real market content straight from the trade, straight from real-world practice. See you in the next video. Ciao.